Aloha, sisters, midwives, visionaries, healers, shift makers. Aloha! So good to be here with you today. I'm talking with you from the island of Hawaii, the big island. And I first want to express my gratitude to Elizabeth Ocean for trusting us to participate in this beautiful woman festival today. As we're opening the length of the festival on this very special Women International Day, I wanted to tell you a little bit about this talk I'm going to share today about how do we create a new story when we come from a background of complex PTSD. Meaning when we've had adverse childhood experiences, probably with repetition, with many subtle entanglements. I am the woman who have left home at 16, running, jumping over the fence because of one too many violent attack on my physical and emotional body. I was also already recovering from having lost track of my mother at age 5. I moved to America from France when I was 21 and became a Zen monk when I was 25. So I like to say I was propelled on my healing journey at a very young age because that was the only way for me to survive. I had so much pain within that there was no way for me to numb. I was not given the tools of numbing. And as I grew my practice in somatic trauma healing therapy and embodiment mentoring, I've learned to see that, there is many of us, there's a really wide spectrum from what I call the powerful sensitives that are not able to numb, and the ones that are actually really great numbers, and neither are easy path. Like sometimes it takes a little bit of chiseling into the frozen stance of those that have survived by freezing. And then there is a different type of way of addressing those that are very raw, like I was very, very raw. So, but today I wanted to more specifically, speak about how do we really create a new story? You might have experienced within yourself or observe people, around you in your lives that keep repeating very similar flavor of experiences. Let's say, for example, they have always the rug is being pulled from underneath them. And they, at different level, they learn to jump before the rug gets pulled from under them. They become expert jumper. And well, that's a beautiful thing because, there's a little bit more resilience maybe coming in. Okay, it's telling me something here. Key frame rate's too low. I'm not sure. I'll keep going. So there is a reaction, there is an ability to be preparing for life's attacks or life surprises. But the person is not free, right? They're becoming more sovereign maybe, but they're not free, right? So what I'm really interested in helping people move toward these days is pure feelings. When I do grief work, and I do a lot of grief work and grief ceremony, we try to get into pure grief. Pure grief is something that can move when we learn and we reclaim as a community, as a collective, the ability of the art of mourning. We can grieve. Pure grief is manageable because there is an end to it. It's a wave that will, keep going for a while, but at some point, if you are filling up a vase with all the tears that need to be cried about something very difficult, someday the vase will be full. But if we're dealing with tainted grief, it will keep repeating itself in different level and different cycles that we start calling outdated cycles because they're not even present. And if we're not coming into this very precious present moment, it's very hard to shift. Shift happens very quickly once we are back into an authentic self, a soul alignment with the authentic pure feelings. So, in some of my classes, I go way deeper into that. But we're looking at purity of feeling. So it could be pure rage. It could be pure fear. And of course, it can be pure joy. When we're able to be back into that level of purity of the emotion, things move, things heal. So a lot of the work that, we do, when we are working with therapists, somatic therapists and others, is disentangling the tentacles of the past that are creating the TWOP feelings. And the main two feeling spoilers are guilt and shame. Guilt and shame. And if you track into your subtle body where those live, just like right now with me, for example, just like taking a few breaths together and tracking into your internal system. If there is a place that holds guilt, it could be guilt of not being able to protect someone, guilt to not being able to show up the way you were hoping to show up because something else happened, perhaps you got scared. Shame. Shame often is passed on from generation to generation. Hence the importance to address ancestral healing when you are doing your own healing, right? And some of the tools that we use are around forgiveness and self-love. Forgiveness is the key to so much. And I live here, in Hawaii. I've been living in Hawaii on and off for 15 years, on the island of Kauai as well. The Hawaiians have this ho'oponopono prayer and teaching. That's, we have just the tip of the iceberg, it's very, we've been sharing it in the West and in other culture, but it's like, it is so huge, so huge that it has the power, from what I heard from my kumu, from my teacher here on the islands, it has the power to clear an entire ancestral lineage. But we don't have, access to that because this is not our culture. This is not our tradition. But the more forgiveness work we can have, the further we can go along and move our ancestry and become those transition character that stop the outdated cycles, right? This ends with me. The trauma, the violence, the abuse, this ends with me. So forgiveness is a beautiful thing. Self-love is an interesting one as well, because in some culture, and I would want to say in Europe, self-love is disregarded as, narcissism or selfishness or vanity, right? Oh, you love yourself. Oh, good for you. Yeah. If we are able to get into that place of deep self-love, if all of us, if every single being on the planet was able to love themselves, there wouldn't be any more war. There wouldn't be anything. There would be no greed, right? There'd just be love, and it starts with the love within. So I know I'm giving you a lot of things at once right now, but so to come back to the pure feelings and what is keeping us from them. So now I need to bring back my body, my somatic expertise. In order to cope with complex PTSD or adverse childhood experiences, we use muscle groups to be able to survive, because as children or young being, we don't have the ability to process right away. So let's say in order to protect your heart, you're going to use the whole left quadrant muscles, let's say from the diaphragm up to your trapezius muscles. And, if there is a lot of, let's say in my case, repeated abandonment, you will protect until at some point the muscle won't remember how to let go, right? A healthy muscle contracts, let's go. But if it's completely, if it's getting to that place where it's contracting all the time, it forgets how to let go. So you see people with posturing, we call it posturing. So perhaps, a man had to survive a lot of physical abuse, but in their wiring, they were not compliant. A compliant person, you can see that in the back, like the tail goes a little bit like the tail between the legs, yeah? Someone who's more defiant, because they're born with more fiery wiring, will become defiant. And for example, they will bring the chest up, and you'll see men working like this, right? Because they had to protect themselves and make themselves bigger than they were in order to cope, in order to protect themselves. So this positioning becomes very hard to unwind as we move through lives, to the point that we lose the key. We don't remember how the authentic self was prior to the events. So that's why when you want to have a full wholeness recovery, you not only need to address the mind, but also address the body. And of course, all that can be led by following the heart and helping the heart relax into this beautiful place of coming back and falling into love with yourself. So the posturing, the positioning needs to unwind in order for us to come back to the authentic feeling, the pure grief, the pure fear, the pure rage, and then the pure joy. So there are several practices that I use, in my different programs. I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. So for 30 years, I practiced this method called the Rosen method bodywork, which was fabulous. And I also, had a very eclectic, everything I could put my hands on, I did. It's like all the plant medicine and the Hinduism and yoga and Zen monastery and you name it. It just was in there, and dance, a lot of dance. And then 5 years ago, I realized I really wanted to be able to share my gift with others. And also because when we're doing this somatic body work, the practitioner has to step out of the way. It's like we're midwives. We're not teaching while this is happening. In order for the person to remember who they really are, you cannot be teaching them in that moment. It has to be an organic unwinding. You can ask the right questions, right? You can reflect what you see in the body, in the breath, and that you can do that as well when you're working online, because you can observe the breath. But you cannot superimpose what you know, because they won't be able to unwind into that authentic self. But because I was acquiring so many other tools, I was like, well, I really want to have a place where I can share all the other stuff, because unwinding is important and it's crucial, and I don't think we can really heal without that. But you need to also rebuild in strength, right? It's like in yoga, you want to come with the discipline that gives you the strength to support the new structure. And that's how we write the new story, is with practices that bring strength, that anchor the new discovery, so that they're not just like big aha moments that just go, and 3 days later, you don't even remember, or your cellular memory hasn't integrated the experience. So that's why I created an online school, the Embrace.life, where we can now really address the mind, and the heart, and understanding the subtlety of what our journey has been, and to come back into a place of purpose. To me, it's really important that all of us heal in this right in this hot minute, and a little parenthesis, the self-love, bring that to your journey. If you're someone who's been working on themselves for like 30 years and you're like, well, okay, I want to heal in this red hot minute and I'm still dealing with stuff. Of course, you're still dealing with stuff. You wouldn't be human otherwise. So just want to bring that, that self-love, that tenderness, that gentleness, but like, great, there are days that are hard days, especially these days. Be gentle, love yourself, nurture yourself, be patient with yourself. And keep the possibility open to go, I could shift everything in just one moment. Thank you guys for your comments. I know when I'm talking, I kind of get into my own mind and I'm seeing you, thank you. And I think I'm actually getting fairly close to time. I have a couple, maybe a few more minutes. Excellent. So many things need to be engaged. That's why, I think that's why Elizabeth brought us here today. It's like the holistic wholeness, is how we recover the authentic self. It has to be holistic. So it has to address all the different levels of these incredible beings that we are, these very complex, rich lives that we are. And it's, becoming more complex by the day. But we have what it takes. And especially when we come together, we have what it takes to heal as a collective and to heal as a community. So, I'm just wanting to just bring things back around the tentacles. It's like there is that octopus that is kind of maybe the core wound that you've been working with. That's, I believe you signed up to walk with in this lifetime, even if it feels like sometimes it almost kills you. But you have the tools. You have to remember, that you have the tools, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And that things need to be addressed on the physical level, on the soul and heart level, on the mind level. And work your mind. Remember to use your mind to be the servant of your heart, not the driver, right? So there is many different processes I like to take people through, and especially working around the tainted grief back to pure grief, or the tainted fear back to pure fear, and of course pure bliss and pure joy. I have a course that will be starting in about 10 days, I believe. It's called The Gift. And the gift is for who I call powerful sensitives or empath. And it's not just the people that feel very raw all the time, like an empath or powerful sensitive that froze doesn't feel much. You're still a powerful sensitive. So don't think like, well, like I'm not that sensitive. Well, are you sure? Let's speak about it. And you can always schedule a free phone call with me. I'm always available for that. So the gift is for powerful sensitives that have been working on themselves for quite a while and are ready to finally get the fruits. Because we find ourselves cycling around the outdated cycles. And sometimes you go like, here I am again, seriously? Well, maybe you just need a little help. Maybe you need a few recipes and a few formulas, and I have many for you. So the gift is a 7-week inner alchemy journey. It's open to men and women, because I love to work with men as well, because it's very important that they get all the tools they need, and they're so beautiful souls. And just check it out. I'll put the link. I have also a free masterclass called Powerful Sensitive. I'll put the link down as well. And I think it's time for me to wrap it up. I really appreciate your time today. And I jumped in there. I'm really at the last minute. I like to do that to myself because I really like to be prepared And so I push myself to the edge sometimes and see, how would that feel if I'm absolutely not prepared? And that's something I want to invite you to do as well. Like pattern breakers, pattern interrupt are really, really great for healing and to reclaim your wholeness. So thank you all again. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the space you've been holding for us. And I can't wait to see all of your other offerings, ladies, and make it a wonderful time, a wonderful day. Many blessings. Aloha.